Hi everyone, welcome to our YouTube channel. Ray and Judith Hilton here, where each week we spend a moment giving you a nugget, a principle, a discipline that you can use to grow your marriage. And think about your marriage like a young plant that needs to be watered and tended and pruned. You want to see fruit. You want to see things flourish and grow. And that's what we're all about. That's what we try to do every week to encourage couples in their journey. And we've been doing this as a married couple now for almost 37 years. And we've made a lot of mistakes, but we've also found that there's some things that actually work.
Yes.
And so we're sharing some of the things that have worked for us, some of the mistakes that we've made, so that you can get ahead and grow and your marriage can be a blessing to so many others. Judith, we want to tell couples today that if you see that thumbs up button on the screen, we want you to go ahead and click it if you like what we're talking about. If you've not subscribed to our channel, we'd love for you to do that. Leave a comment in the comment box because we learn from your comments, and then we encourage you to share the content. Share the content with others. Couples are out there in need, and we encourage you to share the content with them. So to get started, Judith, I thought I would ask you this question because I know you meet with a lot of couples, a lot of families and individuals on a daily basis. And the question I thought I would ask you is, if you were to survey the couples who come to you, what would be the number one need or challenge that they bring to you each time?
For couples, the number one challenge or number one reason they come to talk to me is because of communication, lack of communication or bad communication. Because you can have good communication and you can have bad communication, but most times, I would say 90% of the people is I just can't communicate. My husband is not hearing me. My wife is not hearing me. I would say that's the number one.
Yeah.
Definitely number one reason.
Yeah. And so by the time we're done with this video, what we want to do is to help you communicate in a way that is healthy. We want to put you on a path to the habits, the kind of communication habits that will help you, because we're all communicating something already. It's just a question of whether it's the right kind. And that's what we want to talk to you about. But before we get started, I thought I would share this story with you that I read some time ago. In fact, we did a marriage seminar not long ago, and I shared much of what we're going to share with you today. We shared with couples in that seminar. So imagine this. Here's a man and his wife. They've been married for over 60 years. They're doing really well in their marriage. But early in the marriage, the wife asked a request of the husband. She said, "Honey, I have a box that I keep at the top of the closet that I don't ever want you to open. I don't want you to touch it. I don't want you to ask me about anything in the box." And the husband said, "Fine." And as the years would go by, eventually the husband forgot that the box was even there. But then unfortunately, the wife became very ill. She's at the hospital. The doctor told the husband that it's quite possible that she is not going to survive. So the husband was thinking of all that needed to be done. He was going through all the papers, and as he looked up in the closet, he saw the box. He didn't open it. Being a good husband, he took the box to the hospital and he said, "Honey, this box has been sitting up there all these years. Don't you think now is the time for us to open it?" And the wife said, "I think you're right." So she opens the box, and as the husband looks into the box, he sees 2 crochet dolls, and he sees $95,000 in the box. And he said, "What's up with this?" And the wife said, "Well, the day before we got married, my grandmother was trying to give me some marriage advice. And she said, whenever you and your husband get into a big argument and you can't reconcile, shut your mouth, go into the other room and just crochet a doll." So the husband looked again at the box and he saw only 2 crochet dolls. And his eyes started welling up with tears and his heart started bursting with love, because he was saying to himself, we did really well as a couple. All these years, 60 years we've been married, and there are only 2 things that we didn't agree on. So he looked at the money and he said, "So what's up with all this money?" And she said, "Well, every time you and I didn't agree, I shut my mouth, I went into the other room and I crocheted a doll. I took it to the local flea market and I sold it for $95,000.
$95,000.
No, I sold it
For
for
$5.
$5.
For $5, she sold the doll for $5, and of course it added up to
It added up to
$95,000.
So the punchline of the story, see, I'm not telling the story, right? The punchline of the story is that this couple had a lot of communication issues, but it paid off for them. So I don't know if that's a strategy I would encourage you to use. In fact, no, I do not believe that's a strategy you want to use at all. In fact, what we want to give you today is what we call, and this is what we shared at that marriage seminar, the 10 commandments of good communication. And as I said before, every marriage is already built on some communication habits. We just want to make sure that it's the good ones. So here are the 10 commandments that we want you to begin thinking of practicing. Maybe you're already doing some of them. What's number 1, Judith?
Okay, the first one is you shall listen and not interrupt while the other speaks.
That's a very practical one. Listen while the other person is speaking. And we did discuss that in last week's video on conflict. Somebody has to be quiet so the other person can speak.
Okay, you shall not bring up past events to shame or belittle your spouse.
Yeah, a lot of couples have a bad habit with that, Judith. Why is that not a good thing to do?
Because if you bring up the past, my philosophy is like you're putting your hand down in a garbage and expect your hand to come out clean. And so that's one of the things I tell couples all the time. Do not keep bringing up the past, because you might be just making the person feel constantly condemned.
Yes.
And they can't move forward because you almost like you've never forgiven them or will not allow them to forgive themselves, or to keep reminding them of the past. It's not a good thing.
No, it's not. In fact, some people call it fighting a historical battle.
Yes.
Keep it
that's
current.
a good way to
Don't
put
go
it.
back in the past. Keep it current. All right, number 3.
You shall not walk away in the middle of a conversation. And I know you don't like that when I do that, so that's one I definitely.
And you don't like it when I do.
It either.
So again, we're not perfect. We struggle with some of these. All right, number 4.
You shall not shout at your spouse. And sometimes couples have a tendency when they're arguing, both people are raising their voices and somebody has to bring down the amp. I always tell them.
And the reason why people end up shouting is because nobody is being quiet so the other person can speak.
Correct.
So don't shout. And in order not to shout, you've got to listen first before you speak. All right, number 5.
You shall not unfairly accuse or blame your spouse of wrongdoing.
Right. That one's pretty self-evident. To unfairly accuse or blame. Always saying it's your fault. You never do this. Those kinds of broad, absolute statements are never helpful. What about number 6?
You shall not use silence to avoid communication. Don't go through the day without talking to each other.
And when we did the episode on conflict, Judith, what was that called within that whole conversation? We called it stonewalling. Stonewalling, where you're just giving your spouse the silent treatment as if they don't exist. That is not a cool thing to do, and it's not very helpful. Number 7.
You shall not use profanity with your spouse. This one is a popular one, believe it or not. I am amazed that people think it's okay to say words, profane words to their spouse. And of course, the children are listening in.
If you have
they have
kids,
children,
you're just teaching them how to do the same, guys.
Yes, so this is a very touchy one.
And to me, it shows a lack of your ability to use the vocabulary well. If that's the best you can do, then it means you're really limiting your ability to communicate by using profanity. It's very, very upsetting. It's very insulting. It's just not what should be happening between a couple that's trying to grow their marriage.
Yeah, and it's disrespectful.
Very disrespectful. Number 8.
You shall speak the truth in love, disclose your wants, feelings, thoughts, and speak for self. Like, I feel, this is what I feel, doesn't mean that you're speaking for the other person. Speak for self.
Yeah. So just speak the truth. Speak the truth, but speak it with love. Speak it with a level of kindness. Speak for yourself. Very good. Number 9.
You shall not label your spouse.
Label or belittle your spouse. What's up with that one, Judith?
Well, usually if you labeling, sometimes this will stick.
Mm-hmm.
And for you, if you keep hearing your spouse say, "Oh, you're not smart," "Oh, I'm not smart. I really am not smart,"
Mm-hmm.
or "You're dumb," or "You're stupid," or "Why don't you use your brain?"
Yes.
Or anything like that to make the person feel like they're not very intelligent. You're not
Right.
very intelligent. That does make the person feel small,
Yes,
really small.
of course. And if you want to grow your marriage, this is definitely not the way to grow. And to bless and encourage your partner is to use words that will help them to blossom. So don't belittle. Number 10, and this is maybe one of the ones I love the most. Go ahead.
You shall not go through a day without sharing compliments.
Exactly.
And compliments, we will also talk about words of affirmation. We talk about that so many times, that we use our words to build up. And if a spouse hears a compliment every day, wow, I know if you do that to me every day, and when you do that to me, compliment me how many times in a day, it really makes me feel special.
Here you go.
So that's what I would advise every couple. This is a really big one. If you do that, then you will have a spouse that's really feeling fulfilled.
Good, good. And I think the bottom line with all this, guys, these are the 10 commandments. The bottom line with all of this is that you have to start somewhere. So maybe one of the things you could do then is to take this list and you and your spouse just sit down and say, how are we doing? Are we 10 out of 10? And if you say you're 10 out of 10, you guys are lying. I'm just going to tell you right now. But if you're 1 out of 10, boy, you really have some work to do. But the bottom line is you got to figure out where you are. Be honest as to where you are. You can also come up with your own list.
Yes, that's a
There might be other commandments that you want to add to this. Come up with your own list and say, this is the culture that we want to build within our home. We want to teach each other how to communicate. And if indeed what blood is to the body is what communication is to a marriage, and you definitely want to make sure that the communication is healthy. It takes time, it's habit forming, but just keep working at it. Come up with your own list and put it somewhere where you can see it. You could put it on the refrigerator, you could put it on the bedroom mirror, you could put it in the bathroom. Put it somewhere where you will be constantly reminded, this is what we're all about. This is why we want to communicate in a very healthy way. Let me remind you again that poor communication will rock your marriage.
Yes.
I'm just going to be honest with you. It will bring your marriage down. Yes. If indeed, as Judith said, and she sees a lot of clients, that the number one thing that couples tend to bring is that they can't communicate, which then is sort of the gateway. You can't communicate, then you'll never be able to resolve any of the other issues that are going on in the marriage. You won't be able to talk about money. You won't be able to discuss anything of importance if you haven't figured out how do we communicate in a healthy way. And then remember your words are powerful. Your words are powerful. Your words can harm and hurt, or, and this is what we prefer, your words can heal, and they can build up, and they can strengthen, and they will cause your marriage to grow. So that's what we wanted to talk with you about today. We want to encourage you again to give us that thumbs up. You can leave a comment in the comment box if you think of other communication rules that we didn't put here. Share them with us because we also want to grow. And then we would also encourage you to subscribe to our channel and share this video with others, other people that you think might find value in a topic like this. All right? God bless you. Take care. Keep loving each other. Keep growing your marriage.